Alright, how about that timing? We literally just loaded into our first battle here. Welcome everyone. Gonna be getting started with some Total War Warhammer 2 in just a moment. Let me just make sure. Yep, there it is. Everything looks good. Just adjust my microphone. Give me just... There we go. Alright. Welcome. Today we're gonna be just doing some nice, relaxing... vanilla battles. Adjusting my microphone a little bit more there, sorry about that. Yeah, so to start we've got an Empire mirror match. Oh, this is awesome. Outer Region versus Actor here. Let's have a look at the builds. We've got Volkmar, Spearmen with shields up front, Flagellants. We've got Sigmar's Sons, some Silver Bullets, more Spearmen, a Deathcaster, Amethyst Wizard, a couple Empire Knights, couple Pistoliers for the Imperial Forces. Now for the Hunts Marshal and his expedition. Got regular swordsmen up front, Spearmen at the back, looks like Empire Knights, Hellstorm Rocket Battery, the Sunmaker even, Amber Wizard, yeah, Huntsman as you would expect. So Amber versus Amethyst, Volkmar versus the Hunts Master himself, Marcus Wolfhart. Gonna pop some shots into Volkmar, and looks like that was a clean miss. Didn't do any damage there. Meanwhile, the rocket's gonna open up on the Flagellants and the Sigmar Sons here. Silver Bullets are in a position where they could potentially get hit by some overshots. So basically, when you're being hit by a Hellstorm Rocket Battery like this, you want to spread out even wider potentially, and if you can figure out which unit they're targeting, like, you can potentially, like, run these guys away from that unit. But, yeah, Silver Bullets, I think, should be okay, unless he goes after the Sigmar Sons. Then you've got this nice kind of triple layer where all three of these units are at risk of being hit. Let's see. Volkmar's going to come forward. He's not going to get too much damage so far from the Huntsman and various other units. He does have to be careful of the net from Marcus, though. He is within range here of the Silver Bullets. I mean, granted, the magic resistance and missile resistance means that Silver Bullets will do very, very little to Volkmar, all things considered. Sunmaker, though, oh man, some nasty damage into those Flagellants. The interesting thing is, even if the Sunmaker uses all of its ammo and gets solid contact on high-value units, I still don't think it's going to pay for itself, just because it's so expensive. But here's the net on Marcus, or sorry, from Marcus on Volkmar. He then drops a nice banishment. Going to wreck Dactor's Sigmar Sons there for the Hunts Marshal. Pistoliers rolling up in the backline, though. Wild Pistolier Vanguard coming in to try and take out the Hellstorm Rocket Battery. You can see charges in from the rear there. The Spearmen are able to block that advance. They're now going to pull away, pull those Empire Knights out of position potentially. It looks like some of these Empire Knights also took some damage from perhaps an Amber Spear or something. I'm not sure, but the Sunmakers managed to make a few more solid contact hits there, and as a result, the Flagellants and other various infantry for Imperial forces are not looking too good for the forces of Reichland. At the same time, Pistoliers kind of kiting some spears away here. This is not a great engagement for these Empire Knights facing other Empire Knights. They did get a hold of some Huntsmen, though, it looks like. And Volkmar, as long as he doesn't get straight up killed here, his regeneration will allow him to stay in the fight. Check this out as well. Silver Bullets now take a bead on Marcus, start to countershoot him. He doesn't have any form of healing, so any damage that's done to him is going to be pretty significant. But second Manticore Summon gets pulled up. I think probably both Manticores are going to go all in for a goon attempt against Volkmar there. But let's kind of keep things in a high-level overview and just pan around and see. Yeah, Pistoliers dealing with some spears, which is nice, but they really need to get in and take out these Huntsmen here. Yeah. These Pistoliers over here, or rather Empire Knights, eating some more rockets, which is definitely not great. These guys need to get involved in the fight somehow. There's quite a bit of value just kind of left sitting over there. They could come in and potentially like get some rear charges, wallop these Huntsmen, even shut down the Sunmaker before it can use up all of its ammo. But right now, things are looking pretty decent for the forces of the Huntsmen. You can see Volkmar is pretty low. He was able to get in here and goon that Amber Wizard, but not before the Amber Wizard got out both Manticore summons, so, I mean, he got most of his value already, and the one Manticore just about to finish off Volkmar here. He now has to ride dirty away from the Manticore and from the Huntsman and Marcus. He is getting danger close in terms of HP, down to 140 HP, and Volkmar goes down. That is a massive loss to the Imperial forces. The Hunts Marshal now, as a result, probably going to take the win here. You will get somewhat of a power reduction once the Manticores run out, but I think having those Empire Knights idle for such a long time and allowing the range units to really get some good work done, that was potentially kind of game-breaking. But we'll see. It's definitely still a potential for Outer Region to try and come back and win this. Nice rear charge. Finally, these Empire Knights do land home, but they're going to get countercharged by those Empire Knights there. And Soul Blight here to debuff some various other stats. It will help those Spearmen against the Empire Knights, certainly, if it can get some of their armor, but it looks like the Empire Knights are actually not center mass inside, unfortunately. But, yeah, that was rough, man. Easy victory for the Empire. Yeah. Yeah, this time Volkmar going all in for the rush, but I think it was an interesting one. I think maybe the Pistoliers, they had the opportunity to potentially take out the artillery there, but credit to Dactor for protecting his Sunmaker and ranged units. Yeah, it was going to be tough, but I think definitely both players had the tools they needed to win. Volkmar definitely showing off his prowess, and also the fact that he can actually be sniped. It is tricky, very tough to actually snipe Volkmar, but it's possible. It is possible. So good game to both players. Excuse me. And yeah, Dactor taking home the win there. It's interesting, actually, if you think about melee units, the Pistoliers, I think that they were kind of one of the deciding factors here. The fact that they were kind of used in like two little bunches, right? But neither of those bunches was able to kind of peel and spread, and they had the numbers to just straight up outmaneuver those spearmen and get, like, you know, pull the spearmen away with one Pistolier, wheel around, charge with the other Pistolier to try and shut down the artillery. It's a little bit tricky, but definitely the Empire Knights being idle as well. If they had been in there, you know, during that full rush, they would have been able to provide some presence to shut down these Huntsmen and the Sunmaker, which did prove pretty decisive. 100 kills for these Empire Knights as well is pretty nice. The Flagellants were a decent pick. They did get in and get some kills despite getting kind of shreked by the rockets there. But fun stuff. Fun stuff. Too much micro for me. It is a lot of micro, that's for sure. Yeah, let me go ahead and get the next player in here, though. We'll cue up the music in the meantime. Hopefully I'm going to be getting some more different games for you guys as well. I'm going to be recording some... I've been trying to decide like how I want to present other games. I may end up streaming, and I've talked a little bit about this before, I may end up streaming other games on Twitch. Like Mountain Blade multiplayer with the lads, or like if I'm playing other multiplayer games, like maybe Crusader Kings or something. And then what I was thinking is I would just like take the streams and then cut like highlights, basically. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But anyway, let me get the next competitor in here. Looks like we've got Bears. So, okay, I'm gonna just take care of something real quick, be right back. excuse me. Ugh, thought I was still muted, my bad. Anyway, allergies going a little bit crazy this time of year, but it's totally fine. Hopefully y'all are doing well. It's finally getting cold here. It's been quite nice, and even still throughout this week, it's supposed to be still pretty nice. But had a nice little cold snap, first snow of the year over the weekend, and yeah, I'm back now. Gonna be able to do some stuff for you guys. I have to check my schedule for my day job. Things have kind of ramped back up a little bit because, yeah, a lot of things are opening back up, and anyway, there's a whole story there, but it's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to stream as much as I would have liked over the last few weeks. But yeah. As it is, hopefully I'll be able to get in like 1 or 2 Warhammer streams per week, multiplayer. I'm planning on hopefully doing a tournament this weekend. I just need to finalize the details, make sure I'm not stepping on anyone's toes, but I'm thinking I'll do a tournament like actually on Halloween. Yeah, I don't work in a restaurant per se, but I work for a restaurant company, yes. Yes. Yep, essentially, it's kind of a cool story, actually. Like, me learning how to do stuff for thumbnails and for, like, streams and kind of the very basics of Photoshop, like, combined with some other skills that I had learned previously from college and such, like, yeah, was able to kind of parlay that into a job where I'm creating marketing materials, more or less, like on Photoshop and, you know, video editing software, like, what is it? I forget what it's even called, the other Adobe one, you know, I just use the Adobe suite. Yeah, just some very basic stuff, but at the same time, like, it's been nice because I can work from home during the pandemic, and that is definitely a benefit for me. Yeah, I do miss working in the restaurants, though, because I worked my way up, like, for this restaurant, like, from, you know, all the way from, like, when I was, like, 16, way back in the day. I actually worked in another location, but then, like as, like, a busser, you know, server, and then I moved on for a few years. Eventually, when I moved back here, I started working at the Salt Lake City location, and, yeah. The rest is history. Worked my way through the kitchen there, so at that point I kind of knew like both sides of the operation, so I got promoted to a manager of a different location, kind of a little satellite location just a few miles away, and then managed that for like 3 years. During that time is when I started my YouTube channel, when I was managing there, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say. Oh yeah, did I? My bad. I am very bad at this. Let me put this here, and then gotta get something done. Bear with me just a second, guys. What am I looking for? Here we go. Gotta add people on Steam as usual. So for those of you guys who don't know, if you're relatively new to Warhammer, if you ever can't, like if you're trying to coordinate with someone on Discord and you can't find a game, just add them on Steam as a friend, and then they'll be able to see your game. And then, yeah, then everything is good. Because something with the Steam regions, like, yeah, for whatever reason, they don't allow you to see lobbies. I guess just because there would be an infinite list of lobbies. If you could see all the regions' lobbies. Maybe not an infinite list, but there would definitely be a ton. It'd be nice, though, if you could, like, maybe select from a little drop-down or something. This is just a point of feedback for CA. If you could select from a little drop-down or something, be like, oh, I want to go in the Western U.S., you know, region, or, you know, Eastern U.S. or whatever. Western European, I don't know. Pick your poison. A little bit. It's not really a cold. It's more like allergies. I like. It's weird. I go through like each season. I have a phase of a few weeks where I have some allergies going on. So yeah. Okay, there we go. See the friend request. Confirm that, and you should now be able to see the lobby. Dov is secretly an undead lover. You know, it's funny because, like, I actually recently more and more have kind of grown to like certain undead type aesthetics. Like, I don't know. It's more of a meme than anything else because I'm not super happy with the way that Crumbling has been implemented, and I really would like them to rework that mechanic. But yeah, like if they did rework Crumbling to where it was less offensive to me, then I would be a lot happier playing Undead, and I might even start like maining Tomb Kings, not necessarily maining, but like side maining Tomb Kings on the level of like Bretonia, or you know, just because I love the Tomb Kings aesthetic. Like, for me, the strongest memory, I didn't play the tabletop, but like I remember going to the hobby store because me and my brother would collect the like not the Warhammer, the Lord of the Rings miniatures, which were also made by Games Workshop, right? So I remember seeing the box art, and I always would look at the box art of the Warhammer stuff and be like, oh, this is super cool. Just like, I don't know, never really got into it. The Tomb Kings ones, though, were always the ones I was... that Bretonia, the Empire, and Chaos were all like, I was equally like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, look at these guys, these like badass Egyptian undead dudes. Like, that's so cool, man. I don't know. It was just awesome. The box art for the Tomb Kings was always so good. Yeah, it's just, if Crumbling was not as terrible, it would be okay. It's just that Crumbling, and I say terrible, it's not actually bad. Like, it's just, yeah, I could go into the whole spiel, but I really just need to finish that video and release it. Basically, the problem with Crumbling is that it's boring, number one, and number two, it's like a giant power advantage over routing, and also it's almost impossible. Even with army losses, you can sometimes fail to disintegrate opponents and then lose. Like, I have seen undead players still win after they have hit army losses, because that's how Crumbling works, right? The disintegration threshold is way too high for units with high leadership, and that includes most lords and heroes. Feels like leadership doesn't matter. Exactly. Bob Tresh, 100% got it. It feels like leadership doesn't matter for undead. That is 100% true, and that's the point. That is the point. You're completely discrediting one of the stats. Like, to take any kind of leadership debuff against the undead is just memes. It's literally memes, because at best, you're going to push like a zombie over the Crumbling threshold and do about 10 damage to it, right? So, like, yeah. Anyway, we won't go too deep into that. Save that discussion for another day. That's a good way to kind of summarize things, though. And oh, I better change the map as well. I totally forgot to do that. We'll go for Eshin. That's a pretty spooky map. Let me see here. One sec. Switch over to this. Oh, we can just put Danced Warzag up. That's appropriate. Okay, just wanted to double check to make sure the build's legal. Yep, seems fine to me. Yeah. Yeah, something that's very satisfying for me is using like a Witch Hunter and Balthazar to just do all the armor debuffs and then blasting something with Pistoliers. Like, seriously, that is one of the things in this game, not all memeing aside about Pistoliers, like, so satisfying. I don't know why. Like, core underrated items series, probably eventually Bob Tresh. Yeah, I will start talking about items and abilities on Lords, because like there are some that, like the Tormentor Sword is one that comes to mind. You don't see either of the Lords that can take it, which is the Beastmaster, the High Beastmaster, and the Gabo War Boss, right? You don't see either of them super often because they're pretty decent, I would say, especially the Beastmaster. I guess the Gabo too has the fungus. He's just super duper squishy. You will get stepped on by so many things and just die horribly, but he has the fungus, and he also has Fanatics and has Tormentor Sword, so he has almost like two snares. Not exactly, the fungus isn't exactly like a snare, but it's kind of like a snare. And then he has a legit snare, so his utility is through the roof. He just will die so fast to everything. And then the Beastmaster, I would say, actually is probably a little bit more competitive just because he's more survivable. But he has a Manticore as well, which is pretty nice, but he's not a caster lord, which kind of goes against him for the Dark Elves, because most of their really good lords are caster lords. And yeah, he doesn't have any self-healing or anything, so it's an interesting one. But having a look at builds here, we've got lizards versus foul beasts, so very Halloween appropriate. Lizardmen, they're Halloween appropriate, I would say, dressing up like a dinosaur. Got some salamanders here, Saurus Old Blood Scarvet, Red Crest, looks like Red Renowned Temple Guards, some Skink cohorts up front, and then 3 Spear Riders. Pretty interesting stuff. For the Beastmen, Morgor leading the way, Ungors with spears, a couple of Minotaurs, one with great weapons, one with shields. That's the Butchers of Kalkengard there. We've got some Pig Herds, Centaurs with throwing axes, and some Poison Hounds. Centaurs with throwing axes are an interesting one. Oh man, nice volley here. Doesn't actually end up doing all that much damage. It's okay contact against those Minotaurs. Yeah, they definitely want to pull away there, though, those hunting packs. Ooh man, looks like they're going to kind of eat the charge to the side a little bit, but they will most likely be able to disengage there. This is a lot of skirmish units for the Lizardmen, and you can see a lot of their infantry is going to get rolled up pretty quickly here as they kind of peel through their defensive units. This is a pretty wide Beastman attack front, but here, a decent engagement Skink cohort actually get against Ungor Spearman Herd. One of the few engagements that Skink cohorts would actually do okay in. Meanwhile, this frontline engagement, Minotaurs with great weapons getting pretty well shreked by the Temple Guard at this point. The Chameleon Skinks also, the fact they're in melee is not great, but they are providing poison even still. Nice Plaque of Dominion, Horn of Kygor even goes down as well. So yeah, that Plaque of Dominion, -8 leadership. Manticore Summon now being popped. The question is the Manticore Summon going to be quite on time to trigger a terror route along with the Plaque of Dominion. It seems like it's perhaps a tiny bit late there, and actually that's the Beastman Manticore then summoned up rather than the Lizardman Manticore. Looks like probably going to be a pretty quick win for the Beastman if I had to kind of call things early, which I sometimes am known to do, but might be a little bit premature. Especially if these two heroes can disengage, kind of peel around, get these other lizard cavalry over here that are kind of just chilling over on the side there. But the fact that this center has just been demolished very quickly. The Star Chamber Guardians held out very well initially, but this is just way overwhelming numbers here for them. And yeah, at this point, decent job here by the characters to kind of peel and go after the caster, try and shut down the Manticore summons before he gets another one off. But it looks like both of them have been popped? No, just the one. And he, in fact, pops the other one right now before he goes down. Man, maybe I should just ban Manticore summons. That's perhaps a topic for another day. But anyway, nice charge here from the Lizard Cav. They're going to do some okay damage, but this is where the melee defense comes in. That 56 melee defense of the Butchers of Kalkengard means they won't take too much. They are going to take some damage, definitely, but they're not going to take nearly as much as, say, Minotaurs with great weapons would. But at this point, what remains of the Lizard force is just going to get mostly overwhelmed. Yeah. You definitely need some monsters in this matchup, absolutely. I mean, the kind of wide build like this is okay, but I mean, the Beastmen's, one of their main weaknesses as a faction is their lack of anti-large armor piercing, right? So I don't know. I like solar engines. I don't think they're dull at all. I think they're quite fun and hilarious. They're hilarious because sometimes they can just whiff consistently. Like, there are some battles where you just get screwed because the solar engine can't hit the broadside of a... yeah, can't hit the broadside of a, I don't know, a Saurian, if you will. But, wow, I'm surprised these lizards still fighting here. The leadership is actually okay, I guess. And especially as a lot of the summons drop off, you can see the balance power starts to tip back a little bit there. And they also have their own summon kind of providing a little bit of a false power spike toward Lizardman. Definitely not out of this yet. You can see the Chameleon Skinks kind of whittling away. I don't know if they're targeted on Morgr, but this is definitely a mistake as well, considering Morgr's missile resistance. They should absolutely be shooting like these Centaurs or, you know, whatever other targets. Looks like the Scarvet also coming back. A little bit of a Flock of Doom there to hit some of those Beastman units. And even the Salamanders come back for a little bit of fun. Point blank blasting. The Salamanders are nice on paper against the Beastmen because they deal fire damage. You know, the low armor means that the explosion will be pretty much good against everything. And, you know, anti-large, low armor is good against Beastman monsters. Again, on paper. But in actuality, they're a little bit too slow to be fully functional in this matchup as skirmish cavalry because they're not your typical like 90+ skirmish cav speed, right? So nice effort from Bears there, but Dactor was able to pull out the win. And yeah, well played, both sides. Like these guys said, definitely need some kind of monsters in this matchup. You don't want to be just relying on the Manticores for terror. And Beastmen just, again, don't have the best anti-large AP tools, so it is what it is, but GG. The music started here, get the next competitor queued up, and I'll be right back. Okay. Looks like we got KRELLOWEEN coming in, Gabo Slayer on deck. We'll be getting it going. Yeah, we talked a little bit about your build, Alex, but definitely, Bears rather, definitely the conclusion was that some kind of more big dinos would have been helpful. Because the Beastmen aren't great at fighting big armored monsters. So, like, 1 to 3 dinos is definitely essential. Yeah, we'll see. Dactor's gonna go with High Elves, looks like. Nagarath, Van, Empire, Greenskins. Yes. Yeah, I've never played against Beastmen until tonight. Well, now you know. They're a fast, aggressive faction that can hit you very hard, but yeah, they don't have greatest anti-large AP. So definitely, I would say playing off of your dinos is the way to go in that matchup for Lizardmen. And for most other factions where you have access to big armored monsters, like they are generally a pretty good play against Beastmen. You know, whether that be Tomb King's Chaos, Lizardmen, any of the above. But yeah, I would say Solar Engine can be nice to shoot Skirmish Cav, and then also provides you another kind of armored terror tool in the late game. Carnosaurs are good for fighting their monsters to a degree, although you have to be careful you don't get surrounded by like Minotaurs or Spawn, just because Carnosaurs do have the lowest armor. Feral Stegodon's also very cost effective, only 1100 points, and its terror and high charge means that if you charge something, it will do a ton of damage. So like charging into the side of a unit of Minotaurs, or, you know, it's a crazy anti-infantry damage as well. Stegodons are awesome. But yeah, Pterodon's very good as well. Yep. Mazda Ancient Steg Solar Engine. Yeah, the Ancient Steg. Ancient Steg is pretty good. I like the Feral Steg just because it's so cheap. That's just me personally. Especially if you have like a Skink Chief on foot that can give it consistent cold-blooded, so it doesn't enrage too much. Yeah, it's very, very cost effective. But the Ancient Stag having the Skink machine gun on its back is also very good. Yeah, the gun is so good versus Spawn. Yeah. If you watch the few Lizardman games I play, or like if you watch Falcon play Lizardman, he uses the Feral Stegodon a ton. I actually have a game, some more games from him that I've casted that I'm going to be putting up from his qualifier. But yeah, the Ancient Steg, the gun is very good versus Spawn. It's good versus all the Beastmen stuff, Minotaurs, and yeah. Ancient Steg has better stats though as well. It's true. Yeah, it's true. It's just a lot more expensive. It's what, like, Ancient Steg is what, 1800? Is 1600 or 1800? I can't remember exactly, but only 1100 for the Ancient Steg, or for the Feral Steg. I mean, that's a unit of Reichsguard, right? To think about it that way. I mean, that's cheaper than most armor-piercing chariots, you know, like, that's as much as an Ithilmar chariot. So, yeah, it's just so cheap. You can go kind of wide around it. That's what I like, but both definitely have their uses. 1950. Oh, yeah, see? Yeah, see, it's way more expensive. You could bring a whole extra unit of Saurus infantry on top of them, which is, you know, it's arguable whether that's good in some matchups or not, but if you're trying to really min-max in terms of army width, I would say the Feral Steg is a great option. Yeah, those Temple Guards, they got outnumbered pretty quick. They were doing okay for a minute, but then once they got overwhelmed by numbers, like, it just wasn't going to be good for them. When do you bring Saurus? Against Tomb Kings? You can bring Saurus also. You know, they're not bad against Beastmen, just because Beastmen, They don't have much armor, and Saurus have pretty high weapon strength, so when they do make contact, they hit pretty hard. Beastmen also tend not to have the best defensive stats, so a couple of Saurus can actually be pretty decent against Beastmen. Yeah, when don't you bring Saurus, exactly? It's all about min-maxing cost on your characters and monsters and other things, Alex, and like, I don't know. I could maybe I'll do a. It's been a long time since I've done a Build Factory stream, but maybe I could do one with Lizardmen. Maybe bring Falcon on and just talk about Lizardmen builds, especially like very basic, like even non-DLC Lizardmen builds. Because out of any of the factions that are strong with no DLC, I would say Lizardmen are probably the best. In fact, some of the meta builds have no DLC units in them, except for maybe the Cohort of Sotek if you want to switch with Saurus out for them. But yeah, it's like, well, that's only a third of your army. 4k gold is only a third of your army cost, so you still have 2/3 of your army cost to allocate to other supporting elements. Don't forget to remove the Dancing Wurzag. Thank you very much, Lux. Alright, oops, just smacked my mic a little bit there, that's fine. This time, the Beastmen have switched sides. And, whoops, they're going to be up against not the Hunts Marshal, but the Shadow King. And how about this build here? We'll start with the High Elves. 3 Shadow Walkers, very interesting. A Lithanar and some Dragon Princes here. He's got a Life Mage. Omen of Asuryan. Ah. Oh, man. ROR, Arcane Phoenix. That's hilarious in a way. But check out Tuxedo Princes. Oh, yeah. Dragon Princes in the black and gold color scheme look so freaking good, man. Got, like, slate armor on their horses, like, oh, man. Dragon Princes are not my favorite heavy cavalry model in the game. They're definitely up there, but they just, this black color scheme is like, sheesh. Weesh, that gets pretty close to, like, you know, like Knights of the Blazing Sun and stuff. But anyway, Reaver Archers as well. That looks like pretty much it. For Beastmen, seems a lot more standard. We do have some Bestigor here. A couple Bestigor, Morker, a Bray Shaman, Lord of Shadows, Minotaurs with shields, Pig Herds, Ungor Spearmen, Gorherds with shields, Ungor Raiders. So yeah. So we've got the Elves dressed up as ninjas. The Elves dressed up as, yeah, some kind of spooky assassin or mage or whatever. I don't know. They have the hoods. They got the goods as well as they skirmish away here. I'm curious to see how this kind of skirmishy kite type build does against a pretty concerted Beastman rush. They are going to force those Razorgores to enrage, though, which is not great. They are going to get walloped there on the charge. Another great volley, though. Look at that. Look at the amount of damage that does. That's pretty impressive, all things considered. Not quite Waywatcher level damage, but, like, not that far off, to be honest. So, very quickly, they are able to break both of those pig herds, which is nice. There's an imminent threat of Minotaur, though, here. And over on the other side, these Dragon Princes do get bogged down by some Chaos Hounds. Or, no, it's just Reaver Archers. They should be able to win that fight, but it will take some damage there. And, yeah, let's see what the kite can do. This little patch of woods might end up proving pretty decisive here, as it is going to slow down those Dragon Princes. Not enough to be caught by any of these units, but operating near and around these woods could be fairly dangerous for them because the Minotaurs have such clear advantage there. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see kind of how it goes right now. The Dragon Princes have taken a little bit of damage. Another Earthblood's going to hit them. And allow them to re-heal. Some of that was an upgraded Earthblood. I don't know. That's not super efficient if you're not hitting multiple units. But it's there. You know, it will definitely heal up the models with the 38 that remain. Right now, the Beastmen are getting a little bit pulled apart here as they get kind of surrounded. Omen of Asuryan, though, also getting somewhat separated. And another pretty nice multi-volley here, just coming in, crumping those pig herds who again enrage, and that means the Dragon Prince is going to have to sweep up and around, just shooting at the Minotaurs as soon as possible. We've also got some overcast, looks like Earthblood again. Quite a bit of Winds of Magic being burned in the early phases of this battle as the kite is kind of ongoing. But oh man, this could be a mistake as well. Dactyr, it looks like, has these Reavers in melee mode. I'm not sure if this is a mistake actually, but they do come and engage the Minotaurs with shields in melee. And actually, because they kind of outnumber some of the models here, they get some okay engagements, but very quickly they are going to need to pull away from that. Omen of Asuryan also fighting here in the center, just kind of tanking damage. A nice Penumbral Pendulum there does some good damage to those Dragon Princes. A little bit of a Moonbow from Dactyr here on a Lithanar. And the problem now is that he's so close to the edge. A lot of these units, if they get pressured very hard, if they get a lot of shock damage, they'll just flee off the side. That being said, he's controlling pretty well here. Dragon Prince is now countercharging in again against the Razorgore herds, get them into an enrage, and able to win pretty decisively. So far the pig herds have mostly been shut down pretty nicely by Dactyr here, but the Shadow Walkers are going to need to stay on the move so they don't get pinned up against the side of the map here. The Bestigors are now moving in, and they have, with their high charge bonus and decent speed, 40 speed, can pretty much keep up with the Shadow Walkers, if not catch them, and that massive charge bonus will be a problem. But the Dragon Princes, both the Tux Princes, still being so healthy, pretty decisive. They crump these Ungor Raiders here, absolutely step on the goats. Oh yeah. And things are looking pretty good for Dactyr at this point. He's been able to deal with a lot of the Beastmen's power units, and Shadow Walkers, ooish, take some fire there. I may actually save this one just as a Dragon Prince replay, mostly because Tuxedo Princes are, fantastic. And this is some really great use of these Dragon Princes as well to kind of continuously push back on the various blobs, and a really nice... it's a full-on Phoenix diarrhea in a cone, rather than just the Flaming Phoenix species. A straight-up just torrential downpour of diarrhea from the sky of flaming bird crap. And does some okay damage. Over to Asuryan, I don't know that it's paid for itself, but it's definitely still here, which is enough. And the question is, do the High Elves actually have enough to finish this? Currently they're kiting and fighting, waiting for those Chaos Spawn to disappear. But these Reavers probably need to go out and start cleaning up a lot of these Beastmen routing units and make sure they can't start coming back like these, these Razorgore herds and so on. If these kind of tattered forces are able to come reunify with the main Beast Horde here, could potentially prove trouble. But Summon Spawn are just about gone. And Lithanar also somehow is here just by himself chilling in the corner. I don't know exactly what's going on with that there. But some more heals on the Shadow Walkers and the Dragon Princes. The Dragon Prince is getting all of the Earthbloods pretty much. Is pretty efficient use of that Winds of Magic. It's not something you see super often anymore, but it is a totally viable strategy in certain matchups to just keep that healing sustain on these Dragon Princes. Use them over the course of the battle to just do insane amounts of damage. I don't know, though, a regrowth, if the Lifecasters got it, would be absolutely amazing right now. She does not actually have regrowth. In order to refresh vigor in this late game situation, throwing a regrowth, especially like on these Dragon Princes with 24 models still, quite a bit of healing cap space left. That vigor refresh in particular could be pretty decisive, but the problem could be these Bestigor. I mean, the Bestigor, there's not that much AP left to deal with them, right? Besides the Phoenix itself, although more bird crap does come raining down from the sky here. Gets a few more kills on those Bestigor. The Bestigor, this unit in particular, having low enough leadership at this point that they could get routed. But look at this. More Summon Spawn here, bogging down those Dragon Princes, not allowing them to fully operate independently. And the Shadow Walker's also almost out of ammo at this point. So let's see. Can these Reavers kind of push through, get into a position, and maybe even sweep up and around and like chase off these Minotaurs, make sure they don't come back. Come do the same thing for the Raiders here. Not that he can even see the Raiders necessarily, but yeah, whoops, just smacked my mic stand again, my bad. Oh yeah, quite the battle this time around. This was pretty close, regardless of the outcome at this point. Beastmen, though, still sustaining with this spawn summon, and nice. The Reavers are able to kind of find a little bit of a gap here, get on these Ungor Spearman herd. They do actually rout them, which is fantastic. Also, they're going to be chasing these Bestigor herd here with the Shadow Walkers, which is quite nice. A few more volleys left on this one. Able to fire in and poison those Bestigor herd. The Shadow Walkers, they poison in melee as well? Yes, they do. So that anti-infantry poison with decent attack means they'll make consistent contact on Beastmen infantry. Just because they're so squishy, you definitely wouldn't want them fighting in a mainline engagement, but it looks like they are going to come and probably fight in melee now in the late game here. So super cool build from the Elves. I actually really like this. The combined Tuxedo Prince and the Shadow Walkers. So cool, man. Mike had it coming. Yeah, the mic said Crumbling was fine, so... you know, just had to put it in its place. Anyway, the Omen of Asuryan can start to drop down now and just kind of piecemeal terrify away most of these Beastmen units that are left. And like, yeah, these Shadow Walkers could even come forward at this point, fight those Bestigor with a nice rear charge from the Omen of Asuryan. Absolutely, they'd be able to get a terror route. Likewise, Lithnar is a good enough combatant that he will beat Morgur in melee. They're pretty comparable, actually, in terms of weapon strength. It's just that Lithnar, especially with Martial Prowess active, just has straight-up better stats. But, yeah. Final volleys being unleashed, and time for the Elves to charge. Oh, come on, charge! You got a face charge into Bestigor. It's fine. Oh, no, they're going to come clean these guys first. Okay. That is appropriate. Oh, yeah. And here it comes, the last charge of the Dragon Princes. Poison Blades moving in from behind. More flaming Phoenix crap. And that should be the end for most of the Beastmen units. And in fact, they do suffer some pretty horrendous penalties there. Bestigor still fighting. That Call of Violence being popped for Morgur. But with the Bestigor gone, might take Morgur and his friend here some time to figure out that all is lost. Actually, the caster says, yeah, maybe I'll get out of here. We'll leave Morgur to deal with all of this. Oh, the Skittles Pigeon. Oh, yeah, Skittles Pigeon. Absolutely. But that's definitely a save-worthy build. Oh, man. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Nice, yeah, nice build. It's one that a lot of people might take issue with, but it's a fun one, I think, definitely. Nice use of a Lithnar as well. Just a super tiny model count, to be honest. But I think it checks out. I mean... you're pretty close to minimum model count there. I'd have to actually double check to make sure. But I'm pretty sure that's fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the next competitor lined up here. I believe it is Gabo Slayer. Whoops. Sorry to startle you guys with that music there. So we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 competitors left for today. Yeah, that was a wild one. That was a fun build, I have to say. It was interesting. Okay, just getting some things lined up here on the side. Let's go ahead and get the map switched up again. Go to Storm Demon, also pretty spooky. Say hello to Gabo Slayer, please. Oh yeah, Gabo Slayer's here. Welcome. Looks like the actor's gonna go for the good old Mousillon, which is a faction, sub-faction, or Mousillon. I don't know. I don't know. How did you pronounce that? I don't know if there's any French speakers in chat. Mousillon? Mousillon? I don't know how you'd actually pronounce it. I don't speak French. Not even close. I barely speak English, to be honest. Oh, yes, yes. Let's see what they can do here. Looks like Gabo Slayer is going to go Beastman, so more beasts that be bumping in the night. It's kind of sad that Red Duke is a meme. Bloodline Lords are so ridiculous. Yeah, the Red Duke it's ridiculous that he's considered a meme because he's still one of the strongest lords in the game. Like, if you were to remove the Bloodline Lords, he'd probably be top 5. But the Bloodline Lords are all just so ridiculously strong. Mousillon. Mousillon. Did I get that okay? Mousillon. There we go. We're all learning something new today. Go ahead and ready up. Yeah, get sure. Yeah, get sure is definitely a phrase. Make sure, get ready. Both. Time is it? 3 p.m.? Man, it's only 3 p.m. I feel like it's 9 o'clock at night right now. No! Yes. Playing Scryer versus Mousillon. Yeah, I would love for them to give them unique skins. Maybe when they make the Red Duke play the Legendary Lord, which I don't think they ever will, but hopefully they will at some point. Kind of ridiculous that like Boris and the Red Duke and you know, the other, I'm trying to think of what other ones there are. Those are really the main two that are like, and I guess Big Bird as well, that are not playable, that are literally legendary lords that have their own, you know, unique skins and abilities and voices and everything, but for whatever reason, just never been playable. Oh. Getting a little tired though. I think I need to go get some caffeinated beverage, so I will be right back. Chief Doomclaw, does he actually have a unique, like, skin and voice lines, though? I don't know. Because, like, Boris and the Red Duke actually have unique, you know, unique elements about them. But yeah, we are here. Like, just waiting on Gabo Slayer to finish up with his army. Could be an interesting one. Gavin can have a little bit of a tough time in this matchup, but considering you kind of know that he's going to be bringing Red Duke, we'll see. Could be interesting. Just stuff. Might have been my chair squeaking. I honestly don't know. Anyway. Yeah, are these guys not ready? Oh, they are ready. They're waiting on me. Okay. Should be paying better attention. I really need to get webcam set up again, is the truth, though. Like, I don't know. I had it set up before, but I'm just, I've been kind of waiting on some things. I'm trying to get some stuff remodeled here so I can get an actual office space set up. Now, I would love to get some, like, I have, like, some decorations and stuff that I would want to put up and kind of get, not necessarily like a green screen, but like a cool background that I can put up. Honestly, though, it's been taking me a while to get all that set up, so I really should just get the webcam here somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Cat cam? We really do need the cat cam, though, for real. She is chilling over there right now, taking a nap, listening to my sultry sound of my voice as I stream. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the spooky builds here. And yeah, we've got double Doom Wheel. How about this? Look at this. Ikit Claw with Wheels of Doom. We've got a Plague Priest. So double Doom Wheel, definitely in for some fun. Warp Fire, 4 Warp Fire Throwers. Man, I don't know a thing about that. Yeah, that seems exceptionally risky. 2 Rattling Guns as well, so he's got a ton of weapons teams to try and protect. But actually the Warp Fire Throwers may end up being in the meta here because they do magic damage as well as fire, right? We have a look. Yep, Warp Fire Throwers do indeed deal magic damage. And look at this, it's an all-ghost army from the Red Duke, including the Red Duke, who is not a ghost, but he is here. And man, his shield, that yellow, I can't really see it because the dragon's flopping around so much, but his shield is awesome, man. Like the whole shape of it, the yellow color scheme looks great. But holy spooky ghosts, that is also super risky. Considering that Ikit Claw's chariot and the other chariot, right, the Doom Wheels. So just a quick fun fact. So Ikit's chariot does this amount of missile damage, 236 missile damage. Wheels of Doom does 202 missile damage, and the regular one has even less. So basically what it is if we have a look, you can see this one is 2 shots, 65 and then 20 explosive. This one is 3 shots, 65 and 20 explosive. So you can see that basically the way it works is the basic Doom Wheel has a single shot. The Regiment of Renown has a double shot, and then Ikit has a triple shot. So basically, Ikit's Doom Wheel does the most ranged damage, and considering that ranged damage is also magic damage, as we can see right here, it will blast the ghost. So there's a lot of ghost busting here. Ikit Claw going full on. Who you gonna call? Ikit Claw? No, the Warp Fire Throwers do kind of look like Ghostbusters, to be honest, though. Like, this definitely seems like it may have been inspired originally by the Ghostbusters machine way back when Games Workshop created these models, you know, eons ago. 52 ammo on that, yeah, wow. 200 IQ play, right? No, but for real. You can see the Red Duke flies over and it's just like, ah, crap, this is a lot of magic damage. Warp Fire Throwers. And also keep in mind that the drain, the Plague Bell's drain, also counts as magic damage, and that's true of all direct damage effects. This Billowing Death, it does damage to combatants, right? And anything that is that direct damage category is technically magic damage. So here come the wheels. They're gonna move in and start to just blast, start to do some almost like kiting, like skirmishing a little bit. You don't typically see Doom Wheels do this, but they can actually be used as somewhat as skirmish tools. The zombies are going to be summoned up there to start to use up some of the ammo, but oh man, look at them just get all the boiling Mountain Dew sprayed all over them and just instantly deleted. Howling Warp Gale also is popped up on the Red Duke there. Just to control his movements. Was it a regular one? Oh, Overcast Howling Warp Gale. Unfortunately, the Rattling Guns are not in a great position, but look at over here. Man, we're just going to keep it in flame cam here on the front line, basically, as the hot flaming Mountain Dew. They got a nasty volley right off the bat on these Hex Wraiths, but then here comes the summon. The Ghosts just getting roasted as they move in on the front line. Each volley does a pretty significant amount of damage. Maybe not each volley, but Ghosts are able to kind of get into the line there. The Cavalry, I guess, because they have bigger models, will actually end up taking much more damage from the Warp Fire Throwers. But Doom Wheels continuing to pressure as well, using their warp attack. And more summons being used. Looks like Plague Monks being summoned up here for the Skaven. They do have immune to psychology while that Frenzy is active, so they could get a rear charge in here, use that anti-infantry damage to try and deal with the spooky ghosts. But a lot of the weapons teams have already been routed. A few are still online here, and the point blank Rattling guns right into the Red Duke's face. Can't be comfortable for him. Not a lot of the unit models are firing, though. And the chill guys quickly come in and bog down. But one unit of Warp Fire Throwers is able to kind of get free out on this flank and start to bathe the ghosts. Looks like they're going after that Banshee right now, as well as these Can Wraiths. The Can Wraiths just get blasted there. The vampires have taken pretty severe losses despite them getting in and getting some work done. Balance power still very close at this point. But I think the wheels still being so healthy is going to be a pretty decisive factor here. Likewise, you can see that the Plague Priest is also basically still completely healthy. So all the power units for the Skaven are still more or less online. I mean, yeah, weapons teams do represent a pretty significant amount of power. But, oh, this is potentially dangerous. Here comes the Red Duke. Trying to get in on Ikit Claw. Ikit needs to skedaddle out of there before he takes too much damage. Nice blast. More nice blasts as the two chariots roll through and just clean up on this Can Wraith and this other unit of Can Wraiths even. Imagine if you had a Warp Grinder or two, right? Like, you just switch. I would even say switch out one of the, even just one or two, yeah, of the Flamers for Warp Grinders, and suddenly this build I think would actually be pretty decent. But over here, the Plague Priest cleaning up. Last of the ghosts there. More of the ghosts disintegrating, crumbling there. Pretty much finished here. So Ikit is looking pretty good, but he can get gooned here pretty nasty. Here come the Rattling Guns though, finally able to recover their leadership, start to open up a little bit on the Red Duke. He's going to dodge the flaming Mountain Dew there and cut back around. Will he go after Ikit here, or is he going to go after the guns is the question. If Ikit's got another Howling Warp Gale, that would be pretty decisive to pin him in place like right about now so that all of these units can turn and fire. Like Ikit and the other Doomwheel could get close and use their missile attack to fire up in the air as well. But it looks like no Howling Warp Gale is available. For some reason that's really hard to say. Howling Warp Gale is available. Anyway, but the Red Duke now just about at his healing cap, getting chased off by the double Doomwheel. Look at this Doomwheel just like straight up. It almost looks like they're connected like a pod racer or something right there. That was kind of cool. They're going to now pull away as the Red Duke turns around. He's going to, oh, here comes the Brass Orb. Going to catch up a handful of those. I literally caught up like one of the Hex Race there, which is fine. We've got Council Guard here still fighting. That's nice. Must have missed them a little bit earlier, but their unbreakableness will help sustain that Plague Priest into the late game. And with that, I think, again, don't want to call it early. I mean, Vampires still absolutely have a chance to come back and win this, especially if they can goon Ikit. Oh, yeah, if they can goon Ikit and then all of a sudden get the Banshees in with the Red Duke kind of 3v1 against this Plague Priest, that could actually be a pretty decisive difference in this battle. But right now, Ikit really probably ought to pull around and just rear charge the Red Duke and try and hold him on the ground here. Bit of a swing and a miss with that Plague Breath there. But instead, Ikit gets the dreaded LC ability, which you don't see often at all anymore, but it does put him down to 0 melee defense, a minus 48% speed. He gets routed off by the Red Duke there, but as that happens, balance power actually kind of starts to turn against the Vampires. That doesn't really make sense to me, but there it is. I guess probably because these chill guys are almost gone with their chilling aura. They won't be able to continue to debuff speed on top of the other effects there, but Ikit is gone. He's a goner, as is this other Doomwheel. But there go the summoned zombies. So it's really just the single entities left at this point for the Skaven, and I just don't see them dealing with everything. The Bell plus the Storm Vermin alone can probably kill the Red Duke here. We'll see. Yeah, Warp Grinder's AoE damage ability will also wreck Ghosts. You are completely correct, sir. Yep. Yeah, the Drain is even pretty decent against these single entities here because they only have like 2,000 HP apiece. Oh man, yeah. Actually, I don't know if I can fully finish out today's stream, guys. I just got hit by a wave of tiredness. I think I honestly might need to go take a nap, but we'll see how many more I can push through here. Unfortunately, Bob Tresh and Get It Mule, I might not be able to get through all your guys' games, because we've still got, what, Stormrunner and Deadly Bunnies left, so, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, I may be a little bit optimistic in the number of games that I put there, but I'll push through as long as I can. We're not done yet. Nice breath attack, though. And will this be it? The LC goes down on the Plague Priest. He's going to start to take more and more damage from these various troops here. Plague Priest actually pulls away and gets terrified before he can get that summon off. Or no, the summon does still go off there. The Plague Monks are, in fact, actually summoned here. They're going to turn around and start to go after those Banshees. But man, I think actually Vampires might have pulled it out right there. Yeah, we'll see when we get there. I'm going to get through the next two, just because they were on the actual list. But I don't know if we'll get into the reserves today, just because I'm just about going cross-eyed from how tired I am. It was weird. It just hit me all at once, kind of. Another reason I haven't been streaming too much recently is because I've kind of been having some sleep issues, so makes it a little bit tough to have the kind of brain power to stream for a long time. Yeah, I know. Maybe someone else will just have to start streaming King of the Hill. Oh no, the Plague Priest came back. He gets another summon off. The Plague Monks are here fighting now. And the question is, can the Plague Monks and the Unbreakable... Oh, the Plague Monks are gone. Storm Vermin are fighting now. It's just them. Question is, can these Unbreakable Storm Vermin win against, yeah, the Red Duke and a couple Banshees? The Summon Clan Rat, though, is going to make all the difference for sure. Whew. Yeah. Look at those ratty boys. They're getting pretty close to taking out the Red Duke. They can finish him off, and I think the Banshees will probably die to army losses. And the Red Duke's crumbling. Council Guard, too strong. He can't take these thick rats. Oh, he falls with the summoned Clan Rat there. How thematic was that? And that does force both of these Banshees into Crumbling? No, not quite. But it is pretty inevitable at this point. Clan Rats are going to move in now. Trigger a rear charge penalty. Still not enough to get him into Crumbling, though, because, you know, Undead Leadership is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And the Plague Priest coming back as well to try and get some drains. Yeah, I think the Plague Priest coming in, maybe getting like a charge animation, starting to proc that drain effect, will hopefully stack a couple more leadership effects there to trigger army losses. But nope, not quite enough. Oh yeah, games like this will put you to sleep though. This late game. Ooh, fun builds, but man, that was kind of dragged out a little bit there. Good stuff, though. 85 kills. Man, considering how low of a model count this army is, and I know there was some summoned zombies kind of pad that out, but 85 kills is very impressive for the Wheel of Doom. So, yeah, good, good, good. Alright, so Gabo Slayer is the champ. Stormrunner is up next. And then we've got Deadly Bunnies. Nope. There is no leadership penalty to other units crumbling. No, that's unfortunately not the case. Yeah. Drank a little bit of caffeinated beverage, but that did not help. The breath bugged out. Yeah, yeah, it will sometimes do that if the dragon gets staggered, like partway through using the breath. You can actually like use almost all of it, get staggered, and then use the full thing again. Let's see. Next up on the map rotation, we're gonna go to Glacial Lake just to make it nice and quick. You know what? Actually, no. We'll do Ancient Dragon Cave or Stallion Tomb even. Those are both pretty small. Yeah, Red Duke almost carried it. Pretty close. If Elsif was, you know, an AoE ability usable around him, like the Helm of Discord is for the stupid Bloodline Lord, then he would have carried it, but alas, he is not as good as the generic version of him. Yeah, I think they could make the, because right now, so right now, sorry, I just moved my mic again. The way that the crumbling, the disintegration rather works, right? So that's when the unit just disappears. Like there's no way of saving them. Disintegration currently is negative double unit space leadership, right? So for example, that means for a unit that has, let's say, 50 leadership, they need to hit minus 100 leadership in order to trigger disintegration. And now you can already see where, like, a low leadership unit, like even something that has only like 30 leadership or 40 or 50 leadership, it's very hard to get a unit that low in terms of its leadership value unless you're doing like a ton of shock damage, right? Or you know, the unit has maybe like 5 to 10% of its HP left. That point is when units will disintegrate, whereas it's almost in with some lords, it is literally mathematically impossible to get a lord, for example, with some lords to the point of disintegration without army losses. Like that, there are not enough leadership debuffs in the game in terms of a leadership, like percentage health lost, like shock damage percentage health lost, like flanking, you know, fire, getting shot in the back by various things like small arms and artillery. Like, it's almost functionally impossible to get, say, like Luther Harkon to disintegrate because there are not enough leadership debuffs in the game. Which is kind of ridiculous when you stop and think about it. So for me personally, I think if you were to lower the disintegration threshold, that would definitely help. Lowering units' leadership would obviously help as well, just across the board, like including and especially Lords and Heroes leadership. But yeah, from a functionality standpoint, that I think that would make a lot more sense, is to just make you also need to make Crumbling just do more damage so that you actually care when your units are crumbling. So right now, like, you care if your unit disintegrates because then it's gone, but if your unit's just crumbling, it's taking, you know, a 10 damage per second, which is really nothing in the grand scheme of things. Like 600 damage over the course of a full minute is 600 damage. I think is less than what one Spirit Leech does, if I remember right. I think one Spirit Leech is something like 800 damage, or maybe that's Soul Stealer I'm thinking of. Anyway, it's in the realm of that you know, area. So it's pretty sad. Full minute of crumbling, that's how much damage it does. And crumbling really should do like 50 damage. Maybe not, maybe that would be too much, but at least double, like 20 damage per second or 30 damage per second. Like, you should definitely notice and care when your unit is crumbling. But anyway, that's a rant for another day. I won't go too far on that rant. I've already kind of gone off on it a couple times today, but we'll keep it going. I know it is Halloween season, so it's kind of thematic to talk about this around this time. Yeah. Increasing the damage for Crumbling would definitely make life harder for, say, Tomb Kings, but for me, I would even advocate for increasing a lot of units' leadership if you do increase the damage that Crumbling does, especially on the lower end. Like if you make Crumbling much more impactful to where, and it doesn't even necessarily have to just do more damage, but if like there's a significant melee stat penalty, like maybe you get minus, 50% attack and defense, or even minus like 80% attack and defense, right? Because if a unit's crumbling, literally like crumbling into dust, might have a hard time actually fighting. Like it'll still stand there, right, and take the hits, but like you actually effectively using weapons might seem like it seems pretty difficult if your arm is literally falling off. But just something for me, some kind of increase to Crumbling, I think, just something to make me actually care when my units are crumbling instead of just ignoring it altogether. Because right now, when you play Undead, you just ignore Crumbling. You're just like, oh, that unit is crumbling, and you think about it for about 0.035 seconds, and then you move on with your life. But let's have a look here. We've got spooky werewolves, another very thematic Halloween creature. Actually, just, one big spooky white werewolf. The head cap and everything. Werekins are pretty cool, actually. I'm a fan. We've got regular skin wolves here, too. Probably the Maws of Savagery. Nope, just armored skin wolves. Some ice wolves as well. Mammoth. War Shrine. Frog. Balefiend Lore of Fire. As for Tricksy Elves, we've got some Hagbane tips here, some Dryads, Orion, Wardens of Kithral, Branch Wraith, a couple of Deepwood Scouts, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. Hey, thanks, Ross. Much appreciated. Will do, man. Absolutely, will do. Can't wait for the Wood Elves DLC, to be honest. I'm very, very excited for it. A little bit sad that it was, announced that it wasn't going to be until December. I think not only myself, but a lot of people in the community were expecting it to be out sooner, if I'm being honest. So, I don't know exactly what's going on there. I thought about making a video about the situation, but I don't know how much my opinion is really worth sharing. I don't know. Maybe I'll eventually make a video about it, but to me it just seems kind of concerning. Like, I would hope that it's a good sign, and that means they're working on extra things, and maybe we should give them a break with the whole COVID situation in the world. But at the same time, like, I don't know, it just seems a bit odd to me that it's taken so long to produce one Lord pack. Like, it's been 9 months since the Grom the Paunch DLC, right? Since the Greenskins rework. So, unless they're doing some other really pretty major systems changes, I don't see exactly how, how this is taking so long, unless there's some other issues going on, like some kind of, I don't know. I don't really want to get into it too much here, but Get Up Mule, I don't want to just give him a free pass on it, though. Here's the thing, like, yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time giving them 100% free pass because of that. Like, yeah, I could understand, like, I kind of expected this DLC to be out in, like, late summer, like, when they first teased the DLC, I think it was in August, I want to say, or maybe it was early September. when they actually put out that little teaser saying, like, yes, it's going to be a Wood Elves DLC, and it's going to be against the Game 2 faction, and here's some kind of very tiddly tidbits about it. Anyway, Orion gets a pretty good engagement here. Flamestorm unleashed in the backline does a ton of damage to those Glade Riders, and the Norse can kind of counter-rush here with all of the dogs and hounds and wolves, pushes very aggressively into the center of these Wild Riders, and they are having a hard time holding against this massive resources. We kind of got, like, these Words of Kithral really needed to be supporting with that anti-large AP in this fight, and these Deepwood Scouts now going to get pushed away as well. A nasty Penumbra Pendulum, or Burning Head, rather. Oh, man, that's such crazy value on that elite infantry, the Wardens of Kithral. That's pretty much it, so it's like a 3-minute victory for Norska. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It may be way, but, like, for me, that doesn't seem like that's something that should take that long to do. I don't know. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because Creative Assembly has not been communicating at all with us, which is another big issue. Like, like they put out that little teaser, and then it's been full-on radio silence, more or less, since then on the Warhammer front, right? Until recently, they just put out, like, 1 or 2 tweets, like, oh no, the DLC will be out in December. And that's it. Like, that's all the information you're gonna give us, really. Like, and not any reason about why it's delayed, or, you know, if you guys are working, like, if they said, like, hey, we're working on a full-on Crumbling rework, that's why it's taking extra time, I'd be fine with that, you know? If they said, this is why it's taking so long, and gave us some more specific, in-depth insight as to what's going on over there, I would be a lot less disappointed, I guess. But as it is right now, because it's just been mostly radio silence, and then randomly, oh hey, yeah, we had these ever-chosen qualifiers, but the DLC is coming out in December, right? And even me, like, being involved with that, it's not like I have any insider knowledge because I am involved there. It's just, I don't know. The lack of communication is pretty frustrating for me. Yeah, for me, it's hard not to be concerned about everything, given the situation and kind of the signs that we've been seeing. Yeah, just based on the very limited amount that I'm not a game developer. I've never been involved in game development, but I know and have talked to people who are, right? And based on what I know, it's worrying. This is not. It's not a good sign, I would say. And I know Lore Master of Sotek made a video on this subject. I haven't had a chance to watch it myself yet, but I'm concerned. I am legitimately concerned about a few things, but I'll talk about that another time. Anyway. Let's go ahead and get the next competitor lined up. We've got one more here. Looks like Deadly Bunnies is next. And let's go for Troll Country. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the issue is, can't be good. Not a good sign it's taken this long. And the thing is, too, is like, if they don't figure out a way to make their workflow more efficient and figure out a way to get these DLCs churned out faster, I mean, assuming we have let's say we have maybe one or two more after the Wood Elves DLC before Game 3. That pushes Game 3 out to like mid-2021 or later. Or like, sorry, mid-2022 or later, right? Because, what is it? 8 months, 7 months to do one Lord pack. Then you push out 7 more months. It's going to put us like midsummer for another DLC for Warhammer 2. And then if there is one more, that pushes that out to like January, February 2022, right? So is Game 3 not coming out until 2022? Like, what? I don't know, you know? Are they just not going to do more DLCs? Are they just scrapping plans if they are going to do more DLCs? Or did they even have plans to do more DLCs in the first place for Warhammer 2? I don't know. I don't know. I really wish they'd put out some kind of roadmap or something to show us, like, okay, here's what you can expect going forward. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but... So, essentially, I'm just worried that we're going to get a situation like what we got with Tehenuin's DLC, the Tehenuin versus Ikit Claw. If you actually look at that DLC, like, the Skaven are very clearly finished, whereas the Lizardmen are not. Like, they're just not. Like, the fact that you actually unlock the Regiments of Renown through the Cult of Sotek or whatever, that whole, like, mechanic, whereas Ikit Claw has these unique, very strong Regiments of Renown that are unlocked through his unique mechanic, and the regular RORs you just recruit like regular RORs. Like, I'm just worried that resources aren't being utilized efficiently, and as a result, we're getting a lesser product, right? Like, if they're changing their mind very frequently on different things, like, oh, we're going to do this feature this way, but oh no, just kidding, it's been changed, now we're doing it this way, or, you know, oh, we're going to do these, you know, I don't know, just a lot of changes in decision-making while the process is ongoing ends up wasting resources, right? And time being a resource, of course. So I don't know. Again, I don't have any insider information on to the development of this DLC, if that has been happening or not, or if it's purely just because of working from home. But, you know, given my own experience with and again, I don't work in game development, so it's not the same thing, but just given my own experience working from home, myself and, you know, my friends and family and people around me that have been also working from home, primarily, the productivity has not gone substantially down for us, right? And I don't know if it's the same for Creative Assembly. I don't know what their workflow is, right? Like, but it doesn't seem like it should be that much more inefficient working from home. And in fact, in some cases, you know, in the experience from my day job, some people have been more efficient working from home. So I don't know. And part of it is personal, you know, like my birthday's coming up soon. It's in a few weeks, and I really wanted the DLC out before my birthday. And that's completely selfish. I totally will admit that, but yeah. My interest in the game has just been kind of waning recently, and I've been noticing too on YouTube, like the series, the Unit Highlight series is still doing very well, but it's been kind of on a bit of a downward trend. Like, since the DLC came out way back in May, there hasn't been anything new really to like jumpstart interest in the game again. So yeah, it's a little bit personal for me too, right? Because my channel is not doing as well as I would like, and I'm not blaming that on CA necessarily, but having new content always helps, and so I would obviously benefit from having more new content, and I would like to have it out as soon as possible. Again, totally selfish, I will admit, but it's just how it is. I must have missed that 5 for biting. Of course, I don't know if they put it out on their social media channels or if that was only on the forums. But because I don't really check the forums or Reddit, to be honest. uh, but yeah, it's a weird situation to be in. Yeah, we'll see. I honestly considered taking a break from the channel for a few weeks when they announced that the DLC wasn't going to be in December. I was until December, like I was legitimately pretty crushed. At that point, I was like, do I just like stop until the DLC comes? Like, am I just done until that point? Because I am kind of done. But I'm still enjoying it enough. And especially the community aspect of it, like hanging out with you guys, and like I've been able to participate in a couple of the organized practices recently on the Noob Hammer Discord. So I don't know. I still am gonna be staying engaged with the community, so I might as well still be producing content. And I enjoy the content production in and of itself, like the watching battles and recording them, and that's still a lot of fun for me. And especially recently with the unit highlight series, just kind of experimenting with different units and trying to kind of keep things fresh just from what we still have in the game, because there's literally hundreds of units in this game. So anyway, Mazda Mundi, couple Saurus, we've got Rock'em Sock'em Crocscores and regular Croxies in the front line clashing with some spawns. We've got an appropriate number of corpse carts here, which is at least 3. As well as some Black Knights hidden in the woods there, it looks like Kemmler. Helmet Gorst even, with a couple of Necromancers all on foot, pretty wild, plus a Terror Goose. And kind of 3 distinct engagements unfold here. But, ooh, is this going to be a Wind of Death? Oh man, Wind of Death rips through. It doesn't actually do that much damage. It does to the Saurus, obviously, but I don't know if that was an overcast Wind of Death, if that's actually necessarily worth it. But Mazda Mundi, Ruination of Cities, it looks like they finally did fix at some point. I must have missed when they fixed that, but that mostly actually hits the Saurus, which is unfortunate. But Mazda Mundi going to charge back in here. Goose rear charges. I say an appropriate number of corpse cards. There's actually only 2 corpse cards. I guess this one in the middle is Immortus Engine, which is definitely more boring, but yeah. Yeah, the Black Knights getting a nice kind of anti-infantry side charge here, although they're mostly stuck up against the Ark of Sotek. And 2 Ark of Soteks here. Let's just stop and appreciate for a moment what a wild pick that is. And they're actually not completely terrible in this matchup. You can get them into a good blob and unleash the Snecks. They'll do some pretty decent damage, but in this center engagement here, Mazda Mundi's having a pretty rough time. Not Krell has been summoned in here, this White King, and is fighting Mazda Mundi. Mazda Mundi's doing okay, but the flanks have been collapsed. Here come the cohort of Sotek. Oh yeah, get a nice charge into these crypt horrors here. Ark of Sotek also charges in, so because the Lizardmen were able to win pretty decisively on this flank, they come now, and look at that! The Snecks being unleashed! Oh yeah, do you feel the overpoweredness? See the Snecks crawling all over the ground, wrecking those zombies, and actually probably dealing a little bit of damage to the Crypt Horrors as well. The poison is also not completely terrible here, but Mazda Mundi now wildly pulling away. There's not really any high mass units that can stop him besides the Horrors, and they're having a hard time actually getting engaged there. But the Crocodiles, the Rock'em Sock'em Croxies, definitely want to get in here and keep sustaining this blob as well. More Snecks being unleashed by this Ark of Sotek here. Do some damage to the bats and the Crypt Ghouls and everything else. In these kind of very degenerate blob fights, the Snecks actually can net you some decent value here. And you can see that dropping that Sneck has got this Ark of Sotek just about up to an XP chevron from the extra damage but it's been dishing out there. So people say the Ark of Soteks are total meme units, but that one did actually just get a chevron from dropping that Sneck summon. So, no, it's these White Kings are summoned. These White Kings are summoned, yeah? So, 2 Necromancers plus Gorst is summoning the White Kings. That's where that's coming from. Yeah, 3 heroes, I guess, plus the Mortis Engine and the Terror Goose. That's 5 single entities, right? I think that's okay. Because the corpse carts don't count as single entities. But more Sneck summons being unleashed here. Sacred Croxies also have done some pretty legit damage. Oh yeah, just a ridiculous blob fight. Yeah, it's Gorst. I thought it was Kemmler too for a second. It is Gorst indeed. Not on his corpse cart. He's just on foot, which actually probably makes him a little bit more survivable, funny enough. But more Snecks being unleashed. And Gorst is now running from Saurus. Black Knight's going to screen him out. But these horrors, man, actually, you know, the Sneck summon to deal with the horror blob is not the worst thing in the world because the horrors have pretty low armor. The Sneck, basically, I'd have to check how much damage it does, but it's more or less just like a regen stopper for the horrors, right? Like, it just stops their regen, poisons them, does a little bit of extra damage. So I don't actually totally hate the pick of the Ark of Sotek to kind of counter blob here. They're not quite as good as Mortis Engines. But it'd be interesting, actually, if all of the quote-unquote Mortis Engine type units, their drain was not passive, if it was actually active. That would actually make them a lot more interesting, I would say. Just because you'd have to actually think about it. And if you were to, say, buff them, or rather standardize them, so that, like, the Ark of Sotek, the Plague Priest, you know, all the Mortis effects are more or less the same damage. Maybe you make the Fanchantresses slightly stronger since she's a Legendary Lord. But that could be an interesting change. Nice banishment there from Mazdamundi, just going to shred those Black Knights. That allows the Bastildon to then side charge in here and get the Goose. But things are not looking great for the Lizardmen, despite the damage they've done. Mortis Engine still being alive, plus the Gorse Evil Necromancer squad. They're counting for a lot on the balance of power. And the Goose is counting for a lot on the balance of power as well. But Mazdamundi throws himself a Harmonic Convergence there. You can get some more... apotheoses, yeah, you get it. And another summon here, a zombie summon, going to be pulled up to give some extra models, but immediately Ark of Sotek says Snecks for you. And, you know, the balance power I do feel is somewhat falsely inflated by the fact that the Necromancers are also alive. They're not really going to do a lot here. Basically, if the Goose gets taken out, and if the Claw of Nagash gets taken out, then Lizardmen will actually win this, but it's a matter of will they hit army losses before they do. Goose gets a really nice charge here, pulling up and around, and rear charging Mazdamundi. He's going to throw Shield the Old Ones on himself, also gets an Apotheosis. But the Bastildons are starting to work on the Necromancers here and taking them out. Oh, but I think they're going to hit army losses first. No. Indeed. Yeah, well, if you don't have any of those other poison units, which, you know, oftentimes it can be tough to make ranged units work against counts, it kind of makes sense there, but it is what it is. I'd have to double check on the banner rules for summoning, but I think that's okay. Yeah, Gorst, his ability to summon Graveguard, if you overcast it, it actually summons a White King. So yeah, that's a fun fact. Learn something new. Anyway, you know what? Let's push through. I think I can push through. We'll get Bob Tresh and Wayne get a mule in here. I can do it. I have the power. No, yeah, army losses. That was a sad army losses. Ugh. Yeah, if the Sneck summon did more damage, it would definitely be more useful. Like I said, if it was like a Mortis engine, but instead you had to activate the ability rather than it being passive, that would actually be pretty good. Which is, I think, what it's supposed to be. But anyway. Let's go Toothgrass Hill. Oh yeah, that would make it ridiculously OP, I think, right? Because I don't know, I actually haven't played Tanowin's campaign to the point where you get that ultimate ability. But I'm assuming that it's just ridiculously strong. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't actually be all that OP, but really the thing is just like slightly increasing the damage on the snacks would make it good enough. Or if we ever do get actual swarm units, which I could see, if Creative Assembly figures out how to do swarm units, I could see them doing like a swarm DLC that adds the swarms for all the different factions. Maybe a lord that's specifically associated with swarms. Yeah. Anyway. Let's take a look at something over here. While I'm waiting for these guys to get their picks and such locked in, I want to check on the stuff I gotta do. Okay. That's fine. Ugh. Yeah, I got a few other things I gotta do today, but not too much. Be right back, guys. Let me put on some music in the meantime. Gotta stand up for just a second. Interesting. Prince Apophis. So yeah, if they ever did a Swarm DLC, like I guess they could have him as a character, like add like Scarab Swarms, like Rat Swarms, Snake Swarms, you know, whatever other swarms you have. Maybe they make like Spirit Hosts for the Undead, because I know like Vampire Counts, I think that's their only missing unit. Maybe you make them like a quote-unquote swarm unit. I don't know. There's a bunch of swarms you could do for different factions that had them. But yeah, and then maybe you give Tanowin a swarm summon as well. Huh. Interesting. I would think you could just make his skin like an animated texture of scarabs, but maybe that didn't actually look good. be kind of hilarious, though, if Swarms... It was like... I'm just thinking mechanically how it would work if you had a unit that was literally like 120 unit models, but they only had like 10 HP each. Or maybe it's like 200 or 300 unit models even, but they only have like 10 HP each, right? And so, like, against anything with splash attacks, they'll just die horribly, like, very fast. But against things that only have single target attacks, like, they could actually be surprisingly tanky. So they would basically be good at bogging down, like, infantry and cavalry, more or less. But would die very fast to heroes and anything with splash. Chariots or, yeah. Yeah, Prince Apophis would definitely be awesome. I'm just, more stuff is always welcome, basically, in my book. Like, anything they want to add, as long as it's cool and thematic and fits the game and doesn't completely break things. Like, Teclis's bird was pretty close to being something that I'm not a fan of. Anyway, we got this and a couple more left after it, so let's have a look at some builds. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my mic again, sorry about that. Let's have a look first at the lizards, the lizard people. So for Lord, looks like we're going to be running who, where, what, when, why, how. Yes, Fire Slan, nice. We got some cold one, Spear Riders, yeah, just regular cold one riders, bunch of skinks, double cohort of Sotek once again, Umbral Tide, 2 skink chief bros on foot. For the what? Just Tretch. Okay. Sure, we've got some grinders, some triads, council guard, death globe bombs, wow, rat ogres. We've got warlock engineer and plague priest, lore of, yeah, plague priest, obviously, lore of plagues on a furnace. Yeah, right, like. Teclis's bird is something that's pretty close to like, no, you know? Like, no. Like, Silostra, I'm down for it, you know? That's a cool character that Creative Assembly created that fits the lore of the world, and she's, like, very unique and interesting and cool. But Teclis's bird, like, just no. Stop. That's close to breaking the game, right? And it's something that now the multiplayer has to balance, and it's just going to be hard to balance because it's just a silly thing. Yeah. 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 There are some things that should not be added, but there are some things that definitely could and should be added. Like some of the stuff from the Monstrous Arcanum that Sotek has been talking about recently. Let's see what they can do. Tretch is going to eat a fireball immediately from the Slan. He has no recourse but to just stand and take it. Oof. It like detonated on that grass right in front of him. Very lucky. The Rat Ogre's also taking some heat. I don't know if that Kindle Flame's still active. Nope. But if you can trigger it with the Kindle Flame, obviously, that will do quite a bit of damage. Death Globes aren't quite within range to start eliminating units yet, but it does look like they're going to start tossing over there. And look at that damage, man. The Death Globes are a very, very good unit. Super underrated, I'd have to say. Over here, the Grinders get into combat, and the Death Globes are shooting at the Chameleon Skinks, which I actually think Chameleon Skinks' missile resistance makes them a decent kind of counter trade against those death globes. But over here, got Skinks overrunning into the back line. The cohort of Sotek doing just fine. The Ixchia's Triads, I'm not sure if that's the summon, because it doesn't look like they're doing any damage. Oh no, they definitely are doing damage. So that is the actual unit of Triads there, but they're not doing actually much damage at all. Interesting. And maybe that's actually all incidental fire from the friendly fire. Yeah, no, that's not the actual real Triad. The real Triad's over here. But Flensing Ruin casted in the center here, or something. No, not Flensing Ruin. That would obviously not make sense, but it was the Warp Grinders. That's right. Did some damage and held some units down, but look at this Lizard Cavalry pushing up and around the flank, keeping those units on route. If they can collapse in here and get on those Death Globes, going to be super, super important. Over here, these Death Globes getting routed by Red Crest. Excellent engagement for Red Crest to get a hold of weapons teams. And here comes Banishment in the center, under the shield of the Old Ones. All the fire being bathed in here from the Umbral Tide. Completely free and you know, unimpeded at this point. Just doing massive damage to these Rat Ogres and to the Plague Priest here as well. These Rat Ogres also getting fully pressured off by Chameleons. And now here come the Lizard Cavalry getting home against Death Globes here. So it's a rough time for the Skaven right now. Lizardmen taking a pretty commanding lead in terms of the balance of power. And yeah, nice use of the Fire Slan plus the Umbral Tide there. I might actually save this one as well. We had some good stream battles today. Some nice fun ones. And in fact, while these guys are kind of finishing up here, let me go ahead and get this, and the last one. Don't remember exactly, but let's just put that as that. And then once this battle is over, we can also save this one. One thing Tretch has going for him is his melee defense. Yeah, literally the only thing, but it's not really helping against the Slan here, it seems. Tretch running in terror away from the giant toad. Hey! Star Watcher coming in with the $27.99 on the Super Chat. Big thanks, man. Much appreciated. Ever generous you guys are. And yeah, definitely helps a lot. It will definitely make my YouTube income look less sad for the month. So big thanks, and that is the end of that one. A Fire Slan coming through and winning the day along with the Umbral Tide. And those Umbral Tide were absolutely decisive in that. They didn't get a whole lot of kills, but the fact that they just rained in and just wrecked these Rat Ogres largely were not able to operate because of the Umbral Tide there, and the mobility, of course, as well. 93 kills and 2 XP chevrons for these Cold One Riders. Just such cost-effective. Really one of the best cavalry units in the game, to be honest. 109 kills for the Red Crest. Chased off some routing units. Got a hold of some weapons teams. Great job there. 34. Slan Mage. Not bad. Yeah, Tretch loses 1v1 to a Slan. The Death Globe Bombardiers I actually do like to pick here, but they end up, the short range ends up costing them a little bit. And yeah, the Triads did okay. They were able to kind of drag down some of the Basildons, but not all the way. Wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. So, fun stuff. Let's go ahead and get the next one. Who have we got? Who's next? That's gonna be Way. Not Way, just Way. Cool, cool. Who wants some more Dancing Warzag? Me. I want more Dancing Warzag, so I'm gonna put him up. You know what, Zach? I agree. I actually love the, like, kind of steampunk, like, gas masks and, like, I don't know, the other, like, steampunky vibe, the tech of Skaven. I personally am a big fan of that aesthetic. But anyway, what monsters would I like to see added to the game? That's a good question. The Troglodon would be a cool one. And there's some, like, runic stuff, if I remember right. I was talking to Lore Master of Sotek about this because I was doing some research for a potential video about dwarfs, and man, I should get back to making those like wishes for videos. But Koth. Wait. Password is Koth. So, yeah, but like, I want to say there was like a Rune Golem or something in the Monstrous Arcanum. Or was it like a shard dragon he was telling me about? It's like a, I don't know. It's not like a dragon, it's like a ground beast, but the dwarfs had figured out a way to like control it through minerals somehow, I want to say. I don't remember. He was telling me about it, but mainly it was like monsters for the dwarfs. Like any monsters that you could conceivably add that would be addable to the dwarfs. Would be awesome. Other things. Yeah. The Beastman monsters, both the Jabberslythe and the Gorgon, I would love to see those added. Because right now it seems a little bit strange that, like, Beastmen, who are supposed to be very much a monster faction, don't have two of their, like, kind of marquee monsters, right? So those two. I was going to say, I think the Rune Golems are a lore thing. I remember Lore Master of Sotek did basically confirm to me that were they in either the Monstrous Arcanum or maybe they were in the RPG or some of the lore books or something, like Gotrek and Felix. I can't remember exactly. He did confirm, though, that there were some official written sources. Not necessarily army books, but, you know, other official written sources that had, like, Rune Golems and stuff. So, Rune Golems is a monstrous infantry for the dwarfs, number one. And then number two, the Shard Dragon for the dwarfs. Those would be kind of my top two. And then from there, definitely Gorgon, Jabberslythe, you know, obviously any of the missing monsters, the Troglodon that are on the tabletop that are currently missing. There's also, is a Chimera thing, right? For Chaos, I want to say. I think Chimeras are a thing in Warhammer, I want to say. They're just like any of the, you know, standard kind of fantasy monstrous arcanum monsters that are not currently in the game. You know, whatever faction makes the most sense to put them in with. Oh, what map? Oh yeah, I should probably change the map. We'll do Volksgrad? No, that's a terrible map. Let's go for Herald Ridge. We haven't done that one yet. Chimeras are a thing in Warhammer. Okay, so you could add chimeras to, like, you know, Norska or whatever monster faction, Chaos or whatever else. Yeah, the Amazons would make for an interesting faction, but they just made Amazons for Troy, so I don't think they would do that. Yeah, Magma Dragons, that's another thing. I don't know what faction they would go with, but Magma Dragons. Yeah, there's some other things you could do. I want to say there's some more mounts as well for the, Isn't there like an undead griffin or something for the vampire counts? I don't remember. Dark Elves? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Oh, yes. Ah. Big stretch. Not an undead griffin necessarily, but there's some other mount that Sotek was telling me about that the necromancers could take that actually made them into like a decent fighting character. I don't remember what it was called though. Don't remember what it was called. Abyssal Terror, that's right. Yes, the Abyssal Terror. Yeah, they could add that too. That's another one. I don't know. That's just that's how Sotek described it to me. So, yes, the vampire counts mount. See, yeah, that would be awesome if they ever added. As much as I hate to say like another vampire counts DLC or a rework, there's actually a bunch of stuff they could add. Actually, out of everything, the vampire counts are missing characters more than anything. Like, they're missing, even though they have, you know, you take out the Bloodline Lords, they still have a ton of characters. They are missing quite a few even still, but I think the only units they're missing is, like, the Spirit Hosts. And I don't know if you could take the Abyssal Terror, like, as a unit, or if it was only a mount option, but they could always add that as just a unit as well. And that's, I mean, that's 2 units. That's almost a full DLC right there. Or the vampire counts. You could even do multiple DLCs for the dwarfs as well. Like, if you were to, say, do Rune Golems, okay? So let's say you do, like, a runic-focused DLC, where you do Rune Golem, you do maybe, like, a single-entity Rune Golem. So there's 2 units already. And then a 3rd unit you could make, maybe like an Anvil of Doom, but it's a unit rather than being a hero. So it's like almost like a Grail Relic or like a Corpse Cart, like a support unit. It's basically like an Anvil of Doom that gives you like some of the benefits of the Anvil, where you don't have to necessarily take it as a hero choice, or maybe it gives some other benefits as well. I don't know. They could play around with it and make another runic unit of some kind. And then, you know, there's 3 units. You add, like, Thorek Ironbrow as a legendary lord, and then, you know, figure out some other hero or lord to add. You know, maybe you also, since we already have rune lords, maybe you add, like, master engineers or something. Or alternately, you could do an engineering-focused DLC. You know, do, like, maybe you get, like, more air units. Maybe you get, like, the Death Roller, like steam barges, you know, like, more kind of tech units. The Death Roller from Blood Bowl, I know it is a Blood Bowl specific unit, but that would be great to have for the dwarves. Just like a giant armor-piercing chariot. You could either have it be a single entity or in groups of 3, either way. But then also, that would be a great time for them to add like gyro mount for the engineer, add a Lord level engineer. You know, I don't know. There's that one Slayer engineer dude, and maybe this would be better for a Slayer-focused DLC, where you add like a generic Slayer Lord and hero, right? You could add another unit of Slayers maybe, and there's the Slayer artillery piece, right? Like the Goblin Hewer, I think it's called. But again, there's multiple units. That's almost enough to sell a DLC. So there's like 2 to 3 potential DLCs you could do for the dwarfs, including the Monstrous Arcanum stuff, and even with just the units and characters they have left. So yeah, there's still so much they could add, man. For dwarfs, even greenskins too, they have a lot of units they could potentially add. I mean, they did make up the Rogue Idol, I guess, but okay. Yeah, I mean, something. You could figure out some other kind of make up some other runic unit that fits into the lore somehow. Go with the Golem, and if they made like a single entity Golem, basically. But anyway. Yeah, for Bob here, go ahead and cut the music. There it is. We've got a Slan of high magic this time. Saurus Spears, some regular Saurus. Got Sacred Croxies, Solar Engine, and some Skinks up front. For the High Elves, Illyrian Reavers. Up front, we've got Phoenix Guards, a Light Mage along with Tyrion, some Sisters of Avalorn, Silver Helms with shields. Pretty interesting build all around. Oh yeah, that was great timing for the music. So both players kind of pushing forward here. The Sisters of Avalorn obviously going to be a pretty big threat to the Solar Engine. The Solar Engine probably wants to keep them targeted as a priority. Even though also blasting the Phoenix Guard is going to be pretty good, I would say the Sisters of Avalorn threaten the Solar Engine itself, maybe not more, but in a way more than the Phoenix Guard do. But I haven't seen Phoenix Guard in this matchup in a while. They are pretty decent here, especially with healing. Of course, there is no healing for High Elves, only Tyrion and a Light Mage here. Some skink jabs being thrown in, very cost-effective damage there. Sisters of Avalorn get chunked by the Solar Engine. They're going to start to open up shots, and a nice Sunfang right off the bat just wrecks these javelins. Tyrion just cleans a few of them up. That's a unit routed off immediately. Over here, Lizard Cavalry also come in, not completely unsupported, but a little bit little late on the net there, the net of Amontok. It will eventually pin them in. I'll not allow them to pull away, and that is going to be a lost, Lizard Cav there, but it should be fine. Saurus now moving in to engage those Spearmen in melee. They'll do just fine there. Over here, moving in to fight Phoenix Guard. That'll go a little less well, but still should be just fine. Lizard Cav getting caught out over here on the side. I don't know if they got their charge. Looks like they did not get the charge on the Silverhelms there. As a result, the Silverhelms should be able to win that engagement, but both players kind of pouring in some range support to help deal with that. Tyrion gets way forward here, trying to take out the Solar Engine, actually reveals the cohort of Waddle. But, yeah, going to be a little bit of a shootout this time between these two, as the Lizardmen and Elves both have quite a few shooting units, but the Cavalry here could make a pretty decisive difference. Reavers and Silverhelms getting some decent charges, tying up these cohorts, not allowing them to use their javelins. They do have some javelins left, but instead they're going to fight in melee there. But the Solar Engine, all of this time, is doing consistent damage to these Sisters, and that is going to make a pretty big difference here, potentially. Yeah. Chameleon's now pulling away as the Silverhelms finally kind of finish off that engagement. But the Phoenix Guard just kind of being mostly unengaged here. Even this unit of Saurus could have just potentially held back and not engage those Phoenix Guard. Just kind of allow them to not waste their time necessarily, but in a way kind of waste their time, not being in melee combat against a high-value target. But this is not great. A net here, and now these Phoenix Guard are going to be able to get in melee against the cohort of Waddle. They do get banished to oblivion, though, as the cohort of Waddle use their own magic damage to fight here. They're going to take some damage, obviously, but they'll punch back just fine against the Phoenix Guard. The Skink Overwatch firing the side here. So are Spears also moving up. The cohort of Waddle are going to disengage there. Unfortunately, the Solar Engine, it's been doing some decent damage to the Sisters, but at this point, because their unit models are so spread out, there's no backline pressure in terms of mobile units, because the High Elves are able to win mobility pretty decisively. That means these Sisters of Avalorn are going to be more or less free to continue firing, especially at the cohort of Waddle. That is definitely a problem. Relatively expensive unit. Has done some damage to some Phoenix Guard, but definitely has not paid for itself. Yeah, Sacred Croxy's a little bit of a weird place right now. They just need to be cheaper, honestly, for what they give you. Regular Croc scores could honestly stand at maybe about 50 points cheaper or so, but yeah. Anyway, balance power still dead even after like 5 minutes of slugging. Silverhelm's pushing through, getting on those Chameleon Skinks here. We've got Phoenix Guard, relatively healthy. Trying to come back here and get on some of these Dino units, but a nice net there as the Sisters then turn, just kind of mow down these Saurus. Tyrion also getting into melee. Tyrion himself is going to be a force of nature to a degree. I mean, he has just one dude on a horse, but he's very tanky for what he is, and there's not a lot that can directly challenge him here in terms of anti-large AP on this Lizardman build. So we'll see. Right now, he's looking just fine. High Elves are not ahead on the balance of power, but from a battlefield control perspective, things are definitely looking in their favor. All they need to do is start whittling away at these high-value units over here. But anyway, just quickly refresh this. And, oh man. Let's see. What else can I say about this? Another banishment being unleashed here on top of these Phoenix Guard in particular. That would be pretty good. Maybe try and bring this fight back a little bit. Just kind of depends on RNG of where that banishment goes. The initial blast is pretty solid, does some decent damage to those Phoenix Guard, then kind of rolls back up and around into no man's land. Unfortunately, yeah, it does not make the best consistent contact, but that initial contact might be enough to kind of swing things around. Tyrion getting involved against the Cohort of Quaddle, and actually that Bastildon doing pretty decently. I guess you don't really need the anti-large, right? Necessarily. Shield of Chakra also being used to get some missile resistance against the last few volleys of the Sisters of Avalorn there. Very nicely done to try and mitigate some of that damage, but the Cohort of Quaddle is done for anyway. Legion of Chakra also still fighting here. There are quite a few of them. They've got a decent amount of HP left, but once that shield drops, then they're obviously going to be subject to a lot more damage from the Sisters of Avalorn there, and Tyrion pushing through. He's going to chase off the Cohort of Quaddle there, just trying to cycle charge as much as he can. Meanwhile, Saurus and Chameleons popping, smacking, finish off these horsemen here. Now going to move in to fight the Sisters of Avalorn in melee. The Sisters of Avalorn are out of ammunition at this point, so it's basically up to Tyrion and the Phoenix Guard to finish off these large, and the problem being at this point is this High Mage still has so much HP left that Tyrion's got a lot of work cut out for him. He's got to finish off this Bastildon first, though. And meanwhile, Chameleon Skinks are putting in just a little bit of poke in the back. And here as well, like the Chameleon Skinks, the fact they have so much ammo left in this late game could prove pretty decisive. Although they are going to let the Sisters of Avalorn catch up to them here. Definitely want to try and kite them away if they can. But Legion of Chakra holding out very admirably here. Another Hand of Glory on them to put their melee attack up. They do have 42 weapon strength, which is pretty ridiculous for a spear unit, to be honest. They're hitting hard with that 55 attack from the Hand of Glory there. They'll be able to make consistent contact against these elf units, and you can see the Sisters of Avalorn just getting absolutely beat down here, as well as this caster not having a great time, obviously. Another Apotheosis also goes there on Legion of Chakra, trying to sustain that spear infantry. And look at that, Lizardmen have actually pulled back the balance of power and pushed ahead slightly as Tyrion starts to take more and more damage. The Cohort of Quaddle will come in one more time. They're going to bypass his physical resistance with their magic damage, but he does have ridiculously good stats with Stand Your Ground and Faint Riposte active currently. He finishes off one of those Croxies. The other two are going to disengage there. With the caster going down here to Mazda, or not Mazda, Discount Mazda and the Legion of Chakra, it's just Tyrion fighting now, and I think he is going to hit critical army losses. So a very nice job by Bob to sustain that assault, and despite things looking grim at points, he's stayed in the pocket, completed what he needed to, and look at that, 100 kills, 2 XP chevrons for the Solar Engine, Legion of Chakra as well, 56 kills and 91 for the Saurus. Yeah, 61 for the Slan. Those Legion of Chakra super clutch in that late game. Their high defense makes them a very tanky unit, and that Hand of Glory to buff up their attack just means they were actually hitting decently hard there, even against the other infantry. So fun stuff. Fun stuff. Last one for today. We've got Get Up Mule. And because I am, again, getting very tired, we're going to go for a very small map. Let's go Glacial Lake, have some fun, quick and dirty. Where is it? There it is. Cool, cool. Yeah. Yes, yes. Tyrion's okay against the Lizardmen, but he definitely gets outclassed by a lot of things. And Horse Lords, just the stagger issue is so bad for them right now. Like, they just have a hard time fighting monsters in general because they get stagger locked, more or less. Or they, like, get pushed out of reach by the attack animation, so then they don't have the reach to punch back against the monster, so then they have to, like, waddle forward on their horse. And then by the time they waddle forward and they're getting ready to do another attack animation, the dinosaur is already in the middle of its next attack animation and then hits them and pushes them back again, right? So the mass and the pushback and the stagger are all reasons why Horse Lords are tough to use. Archaon's the best because he has the most HP, and also because he's a caster and horse lord, you know, all wrapped up into one. Plus, his stats are ridiculous, like top to bottom. You know, attack, defense, armor, health, weapon strength, charge bonus, you know, all that jazz. He is among the best. So yeah, I mean, he still struggles though with the stagger issue and the reach issue. It's just, yeah, horse lords in general could use a bit of a rework. Yeah, by the way, CA, why do the ROR Boxigors lose their missile resistance, right? Like, they have physical resistance instead, which is objectively worse in a lot of situations. Oy. Makes no sense. They should have it on top of their... Ugh. Ugh. Missile resistance. Whew. Big yawn. Oh, yeah. Tyrion felt a lot like Ungrim there. Yeah. At least Tyrion's abilities actually buff his melee defense rather than lower it. Ungrim is hilarious. His mechanic is that he puts his melee defense to 0 and then dies. Like, that's literally his mechanic. It's so hilarious. Oh yeah, not hitting Barry. Yeah, for sure. Just not able to make consistent contact. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah. The dagger issue was definitely coming in strong against you there, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Ungrim dies happy. Usually. Man, I wish Ungrim was better. There's a few things you could do to make Ungrim better. Number one is to make him cheaper. Number two is to make some of his abilities at least an AoE. I agree, gents. I agree. Yeah, that'd be a big difference maker. Like, he in my opinion should have a special death blow trait that, or like maybe the same one as Gotrek, where he like revives a bunch of HP if he gets too low. Except you should not make it like where it heals people around him, like with Gotrek's ability. Because with Gotrek's ability, I mean, you can literally heal enemies if they're in that little healing explosion, so... Anyway, let's have a look at some builds here. Both players going all in. We've got two Razordawn hunting packs here for Bob. We've got some cohort with Javs as well. Cold One Spear Riders, Pterodons plus Chameleons, and Krokgar. Interesting choice. With a Lore Beast Skink Chief. More Lizard Cav over here. Spear Riders. For Warriors of Chaos. Very interesting build. Pretty narrow, but it looks like Archaon. Got Summoners of Rage, couple Doggos, Swords of Chaos, Gorbeast Chariots, and 3 Chosen. Wow, that is a very narrow, kind of all-in build. Love it. Croak is okay in some matchups, I would say. I don't know. To be honest, I think you're probably better off to go with a different caster in most matchups, but maybe Vampire counts? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. He never gets to fight at low HP. Like, something pretty much like the Cloak of Isha, like you said. Like, something that allows him to stay sustained at low HP for a long time. This is looking familiar, yeah. Yeah, Croak is more of a noob killer, exactly. He'll work well on lower levels of play. Against any kind of infantry-centric factions, I would say, but against high-tier players, they're going to be able to consistently dodge. That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, rework Cloak of Valea to be functional copy of Cloak of Isha? Totally. Oh yeah, totally serious. I do think Dread Knights are underrated. They're not great, but they're decent. You can definitely make them work. You have the right build. But here, oh man, this is going to be nasty for these Gore Beasts. They get caught out in the open and charged by the Spear Boys. The Spear Boys actually didn't get the best charge there, didn't do a whole lot of damage, but they are going to be able to kite them back into the Chosen. The Chosen kind of screening out Blizzard Cab there. Here comes Krotgar, though. Charging straight front and center. Nope, he actually peels. And all the meanwhile, the Razordons are firing in, not actually doing too much damage because of the missile block there of the Chosen. That 60% missile block is absolutely insane. Meanwhile, over here, Lizardmen definitely taking more losses on the Cav. And I don't know about this missile-centric build on this tiny of a map. The problem is keeping all those missile units online and allowing them to function is going to be tough. There's a lot of missiles and cavalry here for Bob, but let's see if he can make it work. So far, he's mostly just taken out the Chariot here, and in return kind of lost his Cold Wind Spear Riders, but Manticore Summon being used by the Lizardmen. They're now going to probably start to make a push here, but this heavy melee presence, man, I just don't see, you know, the missiles, the non-AP missiles really contributing a lot to this, but blast on Archaon from Hand of the Gods there. Archaon might move forward and actually try and fight Tyrion, and it looks like the Summoners of Rage dive in or Tyrion, I mean Krotgar. Summoners of Rage dive in there to fight him. Archaon probably should pull up and around and come to help there. It looks like he is doing so. Meanwhile, the inexorable rush of the Chosen just grinding forward, pushing these units away. Yeah, they're going to get into combat here against these Razordons, which is definitely not great for the Razordons. Archaon also getting a massive rear charge here. Crockhart's getting absolutely torn to shreds by the Summoners of Rage there and by Archaon. Slayer of Kings active, and he just absolutely cans Krotgar. Just rolls him up, puts him on an assembly line, and makes him into canned soup. And now he's going to strike down individually each of these Pterodon Riders. Just easily one-shot them, probably. And will that be enough to win for the Warriors of Chaos here? The Swords of Chaos do get charged by the Summoned Feral Manticore. That's going to generate some pretty good value against them. But you can see, as I mentioned, that the Chosen are taking so little damage that the mobile units being able to kind of peel around and move to different engagements and work in tandem, especially these two Regiment of Renown mobile units. It's just such a strong combination. Yeah, you can see the Chariot now getting bogged down. The Chosen also moving into melee. Second Manticore Summon going to be popped from the Skink Boy, wherever he is. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But these high-value mobile units are being worn down over time. It's just taking up a lot of ammunition. Also got these Razordons coming back over here. They definitely want to get back in the fight and start blasting those Chosen. So far, not looking great for Bob here. Yeah, where's a Dread Saurian when you need it? For real. This build does look pretty weak to Dread Saurians. It's Chaos build even. Let's see though. There's still plenty of Razordons, still plenty of ammunition left. Just not looking great now, especially now that both the Manticore summons have been burned. But this will likely still go on for some time due to the kitey nature of the Lizardman build. So we'll just sit back, relax, give a stretch, hopefully you all enjoyed. Big thanks again for joining. And look at this. Pterodon's actually going to catch up the Swords of Chaos. Nope, they still will get their charge off and just crump those poor chameleon skinks. Summoners of Rage just about done, though. They're going to come over and start to engage these Cold One Spear Riders. Cold One Spear Riders could probably even just countercharge them and kill them all right now. The Razordon's doing some effective fire there as well. Pterodon's going to dive in. Nope, nope, nope. They decide to nope out of that. Just allow the Razordons to get the work done. But yeah, Archaon is actually fast enough, I believe. Yeah, 78 speed. He could chase down these Razordons and actually catch them, I believe. Swords of Chaos are also 78 speed, right? Or are they 66? No, they're 66. Honestly, I feel like the Swords of Chaos should be the same speed as Archaon. That would definitely give them another kind of benefit over your regular Chaos Power Swords. But here, the Chosen, a little bit of a micro slip. Nope, they don't actually quite catch the chameleon skinks. That's frustrating for those poor heavy Chosen. Getting shot in the back now by the Razordons, but the Razordons themselves then get caught by the other Chosen. You can see here piercing bolts of burning being used by Archaon to spring himself loose. He is taking some decent damage from these Razordons, but he comes in, starts to strike down their unit models one at a time. And that's probably it. Looks like a quick cascading Fire Cloak on himself just to increase his melee defense, make sure he can fend off that Pterodon attack. And yeah, looking pretty grim for the Lizardmen. Just about out of ammunition on those Razordons. And Archaon going to punish the Skink Priest Lower Beast, make sure he can't come back and sustain the leadership of any of these units. Solid play there. Why is there an increase in people picking Chaos? Probably because Chaos, they remember that it's a really good faction, even though it is very basic and they haven't had changes in a long time. Like their units, they don't have a lot of special traits and abilities. They're just very strong baseline, right? That's kind of the story of a lot of units on the faction, whether that be Chaos Warriors, you know, like Shaggoths, a lot of the Lords and Heroes. Like, they just have great attack, defense, weapon strength, health, you know, just all around great stats, even though there's no specialty abilities really going on, right? So there it is, victory for Warriors of Chaos. Bob's reign of terror comes to an end with the Lizardmen. Very fun stuff. And Get Up Mule able to take home the win with a very elite Chaos build. So very fun stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That's going to be it for me for today. Big thanks to all of the participants, the competitors who joined today. And thank you all, of course, for watching. I'm going to give a shout out once more to Star Watcher for the €27.99 euros. Big thanks for your generous donation. And yeah, my pleasure, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.